Well, good afternoon, and thank you for coming today on such a beautiful day. My name is Seiwert, and I'm the president of Downtown Indy, formerly Indianapolis Downtown Inc. We've recently changed our name to reflect a change in the transformation that is currently happening in downtown. Today, I'm going to talk about Velocity, which is a 5-year strategic plan that was co-created by a number of partnering agencies and organizations that are stakeholders in and around the downtown area. It was launched in December of last year, of 2013, and would love to just talk a little bit more about the process of Velocity and the plan, and then where we are today. Let me ask first, how many people live downtown? About half of you, that's great. I assume that you all work downtown since you are here on a fine afternoon. We are seeing an unprecedented amount of residential growth in our downtown area. Between 2008 and 2012, we saw an 89% increase. Between now and the end of year 2017, we will still see another 3,200 units being developed, and these are all multifamily units. So it's really the rental market that we're seeing a significant increase in. And so Velocity was really, there were a number of reasons why we launched it when we did, but part of it was the changing of the demographics in the downtown area and really what that meant for downtown going forward. So some of the key deliverables for Velocity were a vision for the future of downtown. We created a framework of maps that looked at some priorities, and then an action plan that really prioritizes some of the strategic initiatives that the group came up with. These just list some of the benefits related to Velocity. It was important, while Downtown Indy oversaw the planning process, we really wanted to engage a number of our partners that we traditionally work with, including the Chamber and the City and Visit Indy, our Convention and Visitors Bureau, and just a number of other organizations, because so many times we all work in silos, and so we really hope to bring everybody together so that our priorities were better aligned. This gives you an idea of the Velocity study area. Currently, when we think about downtown, most people think about it for the mile square of east, south, and north and west streets. Our current footprint of our organization is Regional Center, which is 16th Street on the north, I-65 on the east, I-70 on the south, and White River, just beyond White River, on the west. We really wanted to look at the neighborhoods that surround those boundaries, so we took it out another circle and included many of the neighborhoods that you see on this map here, which I would say is 30th Street was the boundary. I believe we went over to Tibbs on the west side. We went as far down as Garfield Park on the south side, and then on the east side, I think it extended over to Sherman. There was a steering committee associated with the Velocity planning process, and these are the core values that there was some consensus around. The folks envisioned downtown as being welcoming, connected, inclusive, thriving, and bold, and some secondary words that also described what folks hoped downtown would become. Again, I heard smart, aspirational, attractive, hospitable, walkable, bikeable, and I think those are things that certainly downtown does currently. As far as the outreach of the plan, as I mentioned, we had a steering committee. There were 30 leaders that were selected to oversee the planning process. There was an advisory, there were 6 key constructs that we identified that make up a healthy downtown, and each of those had a committee, and so there were about 220 people involved in that committee process. We held a downtown open house and invited the public. We had 150, 200 people attend that. We held neighborhood forums, so we held roundtables with all of the neighborhoods in and around downtown. Certainly our board of directors was a part of that, and then we created a survey, and we pushed that survey out as widely as we could, and we had over 3,000 people participate in the survey process. Just from the survey, this gives you an idea of some of the demographics of the people that participated. 57% 57% were employees. Almost 47% lived in the greater Indianapolis area, and we extended this far beyond downtown on the survey side. 28% indicated that they were downtown residents. 52% were female. 88% Caucasian. 36% of the households' incomes were between $50,000 and $100,000 annually, and 40% of the incomes were $100,000 or more. And you can see that just to give you an idea of who participated in the survey. Number one on the survey as a result was 74% saw that clean, safe services were one of the most important factors related to downtown in the last 5 years, so looking back. 71% saw that transportation options and offering more of them over the next 5 years was the most important going forward. As you can see, part of the important actions to achieve were supporting more transit and alternatives to cars, recruiting and incubating new businesses, reducing homelessness and panhandling, and supporting quality K through 12 schools. So those were the top four responses that were received overall with all the questions that we asked. As I mentioned, there were 6 constructs that we looked at that make up a healthy downtown, and you can see in each of these cogs, the 6 that we looked at were housing, neighborhoods, and downtown livability, downtown environment and experience, multimodal transit solutions, arts, culture, and attractions, the vibrant economic development, and then public spaces and activation. This is just a list of the folks that participated on the steering committee. They met probably 8 times as a collective body as the process was going on. We tried to make sure that folks that participated represented a wide variety of certainly different employment sectors. We had almost half were downtown residents, so we were very selective in who we had participate on the steering committee. So vibrant economic development, as I mentioned, was one of the contracts that the committee spent a good amount of time on. And what I want to do is just show you, Alex, I think I gave you, we have executive summaries of the plan, and within the plan, part of the outcome was that we would have short-term goals and longer-term goals. So there are 18-month tactics and 5-year tactics. And so of each of these, I will just give you a sense of 2 of the tactics that came out of each of the committees. So for vibrant economic development, one of them is to develop and execute a branding plan to promote the Market District, which is actually where we sit today. And we have completed that. It is now Market East. So we hired a company, a PR company, to come up with a design and a branding campaign. And so Market East really includes all the development that will be happening on this Near East side of downtown, including the building that we're in, Old City Hall, the Old Market Square arena sites, which Cummins will be building on, as well as Flaherty and Collins with the new residential, the Artistry residential apartments that are being finished now, the transit center that was just kicked off yesterday, and then a couple of other developments that are anticipated. So again, it was just an effort to really create a sense of place for all of the future development to happen. Another is investigate the feasibility of creating a nonprofit development entity that would mobilize public and private resources. We have started conversations around that, but I wouldn't say that there's an organization that has been formed. I think it would be very beneficial for the city of Indianapolis and several others if there were a nimble organization that could help with some of the development that needs to happen, which would be an assemblage of critical properties, some of the pre-development activities and planning activities that need to happen, and getting the resources together to make that happen. Second committee was housing, neighborhoods, and livability. And two of the tactics that were identified, there were at least 10 tactics identified for each. These are just highlighting a couple. Target and enhance underpasses as a key gateway to downtown. And so when we think about connecting the neighborhoods, when we had conversations with many of the surrounding neighborhoods, they felt very disconnected to downtown, and they oftentimes didn't utilize downtown because they saw it as a place for people to come and visit or work. Now that we have our second grocery store in downtown, with a third that will be under construction hopefully in the next couple of years, downtown really becomes a place for the surrounding neighbors to come in for goods and services, ideally. And so we want to make sure that better connections are made, and one of the connections that was identified was the underpasses of many of the interstates don't feel very welcoming. So in a week, Indy Do Day, we are going to have a number of volunteers that will be painting murals on 10 of the underpasses around downtown, just again to kind of liven them up a little bit and make them feel a little bit more welcoming. Create a downtown resident association to support the needs of residents and provide loyalty benefits with businesses. The Downtown Indy is getting ready to launch this. We will at the end of October of this year. Because there were so many residents coming into downtown, we think that it's important to create an association of sorts so that we hear more from the downtown residents about their needs. And so we are putting together, as one component for the association, a loyalty program. So there will be offerings, discounts to restaurants, cultural institutions, ideally sporting events for downtown residents. And as I say, we'll be rolling that out at the end of October. The third component, downtown environment and experience, and this is really about activating downtown. Many folks are joining the Indy Chamber this weekend and part of next to go to Nashville, Tennessee. There's a leadership trip that is taken every year. And I've heard from several folks, gosh, you're going to love Nashville. There's this vibe that, there's always music going on, and there's just this fabulous vibe that happens. And we think that Indianapolis could probably learn a little bit from that. So thinking about environment and experience, two of the pieces, and this wasn't just about vibe, but it was also the safe, clean, beautification elements that related to downtown. One of the tactics is to institute a street-level ambassador program on Georgia Street to improve the safety and cleanliness. As you may or may not know, Downtown Indy currently manages that street for events, and so we now have 3 people that work on Georgia Street to continually keep it clean, and that are there for events, and they power wash after all of the events. And so it really helps to keep the investment that was made early on of that asset, so that it doesn't become, dirty and decaying where no one wants to go there. Second tactic that I highlighted is to create an awareness campaign to connect private supporters, businesses, and visitors with social service providers on how to provide aid to downtown homeless population. Many folks that come to work, visit, and I assume folks that live downtown probably see a number of solicitors and panhandlers. And folks have often said, we don't know if they're homeless or they're not. We have a number of homeless camps around the downtown area that we don't often see. But we're working closely with CHIP, the Coalition for Homeless Intervention and Prevention. They have created a marketing campaign that will be rolled out in November. And that campaign will really highlight how to better give resources to homeless serving agencies. And hopefully we will repurpose old parking meters, so that will be another way that people can give. And so we look forward to having that campaign. And the resources will probably go to what's called an outreach team. And so there's an outreach team of homeless serving workers and health people in the health field that go out and visit with folks on the street and try to bring them into a more of a permanent housing situation and offer treatment to those that want it. So we're hoping to raise awareness and resources that will help with that effort. Multimodal transportation, we talked more about transit options in this process, probably more so than anything else. And so this was really not just about mass transit, but just other transit options. There certainly are plenty of plans around transit that are going on, and we didn't want to duplicate those efforts, but there certainly was a large conversation nonetheless. So two of the constructs that I identified, or two of the tactics, are to participate in the rollout of the bike share program, which has already occurred. We've had a significant utilization, and I think Karin has already been here, but of the bike share program, it's been hugely successful. And so we hope that continues, as well as the electric car share program. Second is just to continue supporting Indy Connect and the future of transit. I know that the Red Line plan has recently been funded, which is great, and that certainly the groundbreaking of the transit center yesterday. Public spaces and activation, public realm, the programming of some of these public spaces. When we think about Monument Circle, we think about the canal, we think about all of the space in and around the war memorials, and how we can better activate some of that space. Along with activating space often comes the use of public bathrooms. And so that was one of the tactics that was identified, is to how to advocate the creation and maintenance of public restrooms. And I am happy to report that there are now public restrooms on the canal. And so they were probably the first set of public restrooms that we have in the downtown area. So ideally we can figure out how to add additional. Enhanced programming at key public spaces. There's been an effort around a plan for Monument Circle and how to activate that more. And a recent grant was awarded, and so there's some fundraising to go, some matching fundraising going around for that. We have been looking at the canal and what other events that we can offer on the canal. It's a beautiful space, and it could probably be better activated. We certainly have lessons learned from Georgia Street. And we're currently hiring an events director, so we're hoping that we can take lessons learned from Georgia Street and apply those to other public spaces. Arts, culture, sports, and attraction. Again, how do we support our current cultural institutions as well as our sporting attractions? One of them is to partner with universities to create a co-laboratory where students help address challenges and solutions for downtown. We have tremendous universities here. Certainly IUPUI is in close proximity to downtown, and so how do we better utilize those students? In a few weeks, we're going to walk the canal with a group of students so they can talk to us about how they would better activate the canal, what more they would like to see on it. If you think about West Street really separates the university from downtown, so how do we get the 30,000 plus students to come downtown more often or cross West Street? And second to that is create a database of downtown events. There are several places that you can go to find out about events that are happening downtown. We really just need one comprehensive database, so that will be included in Downtown Indy's new website that will roll out at the end of October. I talked about some maps, base maps that were also created as a result of the velocity plan. The yellow highlights some of the residential that is under construction or has already been completed, and the orange really represents employment centers, so where we have larger number of employment in the downtown area, and then certainly the green, let's see, it should be the cultural trail, and you can see the canal highlighted there as well. And building on that, we also looked at one-way streets and which ones should potentially be converted to two-way streets, where right now 98% of the people that work downtown leave downtown to get home. And we understand that people want to get home after work, after a long day, but we also want to figure out how we can slow traffic down for those that live downtown. And so these were really the streets that most people thought would be ideal for converting to the one-ways to the two-way pairs. And so we looked at New York Street in Michigan, and my understanding is that at least over around IUPUI, that will be those will be converted to two ways. We also looked at College, which many people come to visit Mass Avenue and Fountain Square. Those are the two after hours. Those are the two places that most people go to dine and enjoy themselves. But it's a one-way street, and so we're trying to figure out some way. I see Keith shaking his head no, saying it won't happen, right? Is that what you're...
I think you would want to engage the neighborhoods that want all that information there.
Well, and we have talked to some of the businesses as well, and so there is some concern about making that a two-way. So I will agree with you. That, and there is a CSX rail line that goes over that would make it very difficult, I think, for that conversion. But again, these were for purposes of what folks thought made some sense. And then you see the blue circles. Those are really where downtown connects to the neighborhoods. And so again, how do we improve some of those connections a little bit more so that people feel that there aren't boundaries that keep them in or out? This is just a rendering of one public space that I think whenever you take on a planning process, some things are going to get done and some things aren't going to get done. And this is a rendering of University Park. And originally we had looked at, there are 24 acres that fall under the purview of the Indiana War Commission. And this is a part of that 24 acres. The Velocity Steering Committee had hoped that because there aren't any war memorials that currently exist on University Park, that there would be some interest in doing more to activate that park. We do understand after speaking with the War Commission that they would prefer that none of the park landscape elements be changed, and we do understand that, but there is some openness to at least doing some activation of the park itself, and so we are exploring that with them now, and ideally in the future we'll see a lot more. There is the old Star building across the street that will soon be under renovation, and so we'll have an additional 500 residents living just across the street from this park, and you can see that in the background of the rendering. So ideally, and then Mass Avenue extends just beyond that. Ideally, this would be a great place for folks who live and want to visit downtown to be able to play. This just gives you an idea of some concepts that were created, making more of a splash park around the current fountain that is there, adding bocce ball courts, even adding a stage, and perhaps a place to be able to eat. Just a closer look of the water park. So that's it. Just again, want to give you just some ideas of the discussion that came out. This was more of a public discussion. Traditionally, IDI, formerly IDI, now Downtown Indy, has worked very closely with the City of Indianapolis on the regional center planning process. Regional center is a 20-year planning process, updated every 10 years. We looked at, again, starting this process a year in advance of that update as a way of just bringing a number of folks from in and around the downtown area, stakeholders, residents, to participate in a larger conversation about what they would like to see specific to downtown. And we think that we got great outcomes. It certainly provided a great plan for our organization and some of the next steps for us in the next 5 years. I would invite you, if you go to indyvelocity.com, there is a separate website that contains the plan, but it also has a tactical dashboard that was created so that you can see how we're doing on each of the tactics and how far we've come on each. So with that, I will close. Any questions I'm happy to answer? Yes?
What's the development going on? Has there been any talk about moving the dog park into the downtown area?
So that's a great question, and I heard that loud and clear, particularly from those living in and around the Chatham Arch, Mass Avenue area. And the Star Building that I just mentioned, when the developers purchased that, I went to them and said, please, is there any possibility of including a dog park? And so they are in the back of that development, and it will be open to the public. It won't be large, but they planned it very well. There will be a place for small dogs, a place for larger dogs, a place to shower your dogs off. So we're looking forward to them starting construction, but I am delighted that at least we have one that will be underway soon.
Okay. Is there any way that you can contact information for people involved actually in the process of starting a nonprofit to kind of go along with the Indy 2020 was about helping the community continue to develop the people that are working with me and talking about possibility of trying to create another dog park, possibly a large one. Haven't looked at spaces yet, but doing that along with other community improvement projects. So I would love to get in touch with those people if I could.
You bet. I mean, I can certainly put you in touch with the developer that is planning the one so that you have more information on that. And then certainly, have conversations with the city as Plan 2020 moves forward and maybe looking at other possible locations. I'm the owner of 3 dogs, so I do understand the need to have a place to take your dogs and let them run and play. So knowing that that's an importance of you as a downtown resident helps. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Great. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.